The presidential lecture series is an initiative by His Excellency President Ramos Horta to promote our nation's commitment to global dialogue, critical thinking, a dynamic and a forward-looking diplomacy. In short, whenever we have the opportunity, we'll bring the world to Timor-Leste to share with us your wisdom and experiences in how to shape that commitment. And that is why precisely what we have here today. My name is Nelson Santos. I'm an advisor to the President, and I will be your moderator for today's session. The program is behind the stage on the screen. Today's theme, entrepreneurship, how do you start, is both timely and transformational, especially for a young, ambitious nation like ours. It speaks to the heart of Timorese story. Beginning again, building boldly, and believing in what is possible. We have honored to be joined by global visionaries, individuals who have founded businesses, pioneered explorations, protected cultures, environment, and led with purpose. This inspiring group of panelists is here today thanks in no small part to the deep friendship and tireless dedication of Dr. Everett Bragança, who is here among us today. I met Dr. Bragança 12 years ago while I was ambassador in Brussels. Together with a friend named Hubert, asked me about volunteering work in Timor-Leste on their own expenses. Frankly, I thought Dr. Bragança would not last a year. But Dr. Everett proved me wrong. His commitment and persistency outlived every expectation. And so, thanks to his continued engagement, we welcome this remarkable group of friends and peers. I must also thank President José Ramos Horta, then did not have an official role, because when things were very difficult, President stepped in. Thank you, Mr. President. So, we have here, now we look forward to seeing what this new chapter of friendship will grow into. Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, over the next 2 hours, we'll have keynote reflections, engage in panel conversation with the President. Hear from international voices on entrepreneurship, innovation, and how can we build a culture of starting boldly in Timor-Leste. We have a number of global visionaries here with us today, some of whom you will hear from this morning. Alongside Mr. Ibrahim Sharaf, founder of Sharaf Group, one of the largest diversified businesses in the Middle East and in the world. You will have seen his work on the screen this morning as you entered the hall. Before I invite Mr. President to open this morning's lecture, I'll ask your assistance to switch off your mobile phones or turn them into silent mode. It is now my greatest respect to invite Mr. President for his welcoming remarks. Mr. President, please.
Good morning. Please be seated. Don't be so formal. I will be very brief because the audience are here to listen to you, not to me. I just prefer to make an introduction of the presidency very quickly. As you have noticed, no armed security, the gate always open. This presidency doesn't allow armed security. Gates open, anyone can come in. You come here any given day, you will see hundreds of children, simple people, humble people who visit or who come, the children come for lunch, for swimming pool, and now we have a mini zoo. We inaugurate on the 22nd. But the mini zoo is not just for entertainment, it's also education. Because I still see plenty of children in the neighborhood, in the countryside, walking along with a slingshot. And what they shoot, birds, and people capture one animal called 𝐂𝐢𝐭𝐢𝐳𝐞𝐧. We have the most expensive coffee here in Timor, and in the world is the Café Luwak. And people are also capturing this civet animal that creates this very expensive coffee. So we have less and less. In the past, we have a lot of cockatoos. Some areas disappear. So this part education to tell the children, the people about protecting, caring for animals. We have a special school here in the presidency. I started when I was president first time, where children come after hours because we don't have a really after hours activities for children. So they come and study English, study Portuguese. Those who want to study Bahasa Indonesian. They study music. They have laptops, PCs donated by different friends, and then they have a meal and so on. We have countless pro-poor initiatives, pro-women initiatives. We have a Women Economic Empowerment Unit. I told the Women Economic Empowerment Unit, please don't come to me with workshops and the workshops and the workshops, because one temptation is everybody wants to do workshops instead of concrete work in really empowering the women. How? Find some money to support their miserable income. How we can get better loans from the banks for these small businesses, and so on. So anyway, then a few years ago, one great cultural artist called Arte Morris, the government at the time was not very sensitive about their work, kicked them out of a building they were squatting for a long time. At the time I was not in office, but I invited them to use my home in Metiau as storage for their work, because there are hundreds of them. As soon as I took office, I brought them here to an abandoned building. We fixed a bit, so Arte Morris also worked here for several years now. So this is the presidency. We have some of the best ambassadors their country chosen. We have a great relationship with all the ambassadors here from A to Z, great people. We look after them, and like in few countries, because I don't have much to do, so I always enjoy meeting with the ambassadors. And behind you, there'll be probably 100, 200 children, youth, who probably will benefit most from your time here, to inspire them, to get ideas from you. I think I will not do any personal introduction of each of you because it was already there, so on the screen before. But let me say, ladies and gentlemen, with us, you have some of the greatest luminaries in science, in technology, in philanthropy, in banking, etc. Last year, in August, I had a number of Nobel laureates coming, mostly in science, but in the past I have people in peace coming, like Kailash Satyarthi, Muhammad Yunus. They came. Next year, we have a big gathering of Nobel laureates, already 13 confirmed, including that famous Nigerian writer. He is already 90, but he confirmed that he will come with his wife, 𝐂𝐢𝐭𝐢𝐳𝐞𝐧 and several others. And that is to give a chance to our youth to meet these people. And every year, for several years, I managed to get 1 or 2 university students to attend. I think it's going on right now in Germany. This is the Nobel Institute of Science. This was in agreement with the Nobel Academy in Stockholm, created in Lindau, the Nobel Institute of Science. Every year, 400 young people has to be over the age 80. Everyone has to have a PhD to spend 2 weeks with these Nobel laureates. I was the only peace laureate they invited to attend. I spoke already there twice. One time was in a castle. Some of the scientists, they really look like strange characters, particularly in a castle. So I was even scared of being among them. They really look long hair, strange faces, and like the ones you often see in movies, you know, science fiction movies. But fascinating individuals. And then they invited also Muhammad Yunus. And always Timorese attend, but only 1 or 2, and the only ones who they get the money to pay for their airfare and stay there. So we do that to try to give a chance, particularly to them, the youth. Today you are youth, tomorrow you are leaders. Between today and tomorrow, study, study, and study. That's why you have an opportunity to listen to this great friend. And one word about Dr. Braganza. He is the male equivalent of Mother Teresa. And for Timorese who don't know, Dr. Braganza is originally family from Goa, India. And then grew up in UK and Germany. And he has been to Timor already for about 10 years. No? Yeah. So, and one time, sometimes zero money. And one time, sometimes I donate, I was not present, I send one car away with my brother, a younger brother who drinks a lot. From 5 o'clock on, he starts drinking, but also very good driver. He doesn't drink when he's driving, because he drinks only at night. By the time he wake up, he was clear. So he was driving Dr. Braganza. I was there at the time in Baucau. Dr. Braganza also enjoys some good red wine, particularly after a stressful day, you know. So Dr. Braganza, thank you so much for organizing all these great personalities to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. We now welcome our keynote highlight, a patron of science, discovery, and entrepreneurship. Professor Dr. Fredrik Paulsson is a Swedish businessman, philanthropist, and an adventurer. Chairman of Ferment Pharmaceutical. Is also known for his exploratory missions to the North Pole and Antarctica, and supports scientific and cultural initiatives globally. He is an active philanthropist, contributed to a range of areas, such as Silk Institute in San Diego, Bhutan Royal Textile Academy, the South Georgia Heritage Trust Fund, among others. With that, I'm pleased to welcome Professor Dr. Fredrik Paulsson, please.
So, good morning to all of you, Mr. President, Excellencies, dear guests, dear friends. It's indeed a great honor and pleasure for me to be here together with my colleagues who are from many different countries from all over the world. And I hope you'll have the opportunity to talk to them and learn a little bit about their experiences. So I understand that this seminar aims at trying to inspire young people to start new activities, to become entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurship is something very, very delicate. I personally am completely convinced that either you're an entrepreneur or you're not. I don't think you can learn how to be an entrepreneur. You have it within yourself, in your genes. So I don't want to discourage you, but I really believe that it's something you have. And when you have it, it's so strong that it will push you in your life to do things you never thought you could do yourself. So what does it take to be an entrepreneur? Except, of course, having the push in yourself to do it. Of course, you need a good idea. You need a new business. You need a new business idea, platform, which is not explored by anyone else. And that has to be defined. And of course, then you need money. And I'm very often asked by young people who want to start businesses that, but where will I get the money? And I always say, if you have a good idea, the money will come by itself, I can assure you. So, as an example of entrepreneurship, I'd like to talk about my company, which is called Ferring, which is a mid-sized pharmaceutical company with about 3 billion turnover. And we have also spin-offs of our company with another $2 billion. The company has about 8,000 employees, and the spin-off have another 5,000 people. So how could this company grow without any initial capital funding? How could it develop to become a worldwide enterprise with presence in over 70 countries in the world, with 14 factories in China, in the US, in Europe, India, with research centers in 4 different places in the world? So that's the story I will try to tell you. So my father grew up in Germany. He was a medical doctor, and this was during the time of when the Nazis took over Germany, and he was, I believe, actually was a communist. I'm not really sure. So he was starting working against the Nazis, and he was caught in his final year in medical school and was sent to jail for 2 years. When he got out of jail, he finished his medical degree in Switzerland and then had to find a country where he could move. So he moved to Sweden when he was 25 years old. He had the equivalent of $500 in his pocket, and he came to Sweden with absolutely nothing. And he stayed in Sweden for 25 years, and when he left the country, he had created the 3rd biggest pharmaceutical company in the country. So how was this possible? Because he had a new basis of understanding of medical treatment based on biotechnology. At that time, the word biotechnology did not exist. So he was one of the first persons in the world to understand how to extract proteins from live tissues and turn them into medicines. And this was the only way you could produce therapeutic proteins at that time. Today, of course, you use recombinant DNA, so it's a completely different game. But he was the first to do this. It's not just enough to have the idea. It's just not enough to have the scientific understanding. You need somebody who's going to be able to translate this into reality. And that's where my mother came in. So my mother was a chemical engineer, and she's the one who were able to take his ideas and transfer them into products that actually could be sold. So for any of you who are a man, I think it's a very good idea to have a good woman that helps you to do the work. So he was basically, in his heart, a scientist. So he was not really, his main objective was not to make money, which is very strange. So they built up the company, and the drugs they developed were very, very attractive and were needed all over the world. But one day he decided he wanted to retire, and at that time I was 32 years, I was living in the US. So he asked me if I wanted to come back, so I came back when I was 32 years and took over the company. We had at that time 15 million sales, and as I said, we built it up now over to 3 billion without any external capital. All the money we've had we have generated ourselves, which in retrospective probably was not a very good idea, because we would have borrowed money, we would have grown much, much quicker. So again, what are the products we're selling? They're based around the endocrine system. In the beginning, we worked with two products called vasopressin and oxytocin. We then started making analogs of them. And we were the first company, together with Sandoz in Switzerland, to make these peptides synthetically, which completely changed the game. That you could actually be able to produce much, much larger quantities of these peptides. Today, we have become world leader in one part of endocrinology, which is related to reproduction. So we have today several factories that just concentrate on producing proteins for the treatment of infertility diseases. And as you know, today women wait longer and longer to have children. So there are more and more women that needs IVF, in vitro fertilization, and that's where we supply the products for. So we are today at the situation where we've probably made 3.5 million babies, which I'm much more proud of than the profit we make. And we hope to be able to continue with this for the future. So again, the advice I can give to the one of you who really wants to start something else, find a small niche where nobody else is active. Try to develop that yourself and find a partner, a man or a woman, to help you turn this into reality. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Paulson. I have to say that the professor is the first person to cross the Bering Strait from Alaska to Russia in an ultralight aircraft. And it is also the person behind the Antarctica circumnavigation exploration, December 2006 to March 2007, aside from others. Adventures that he had. All of our speakers today are exceptional in their fields. My short introduction of them would not do them any impressive, will not do them and their impressive background justice. So I will leave it to them to share more about their work with you. With that, I would like to invite our next speaker, which has built a life around conservation, sustainability, innovation. Please join me to welcome Mr. Roberto Clabin, all the way from Brazil, for his talk on ecology as entrepreneurship. Thank you.
Mr. President, Sr. Presidente, muito obrigado. Thank you very much. And all the excellencies around here, thank you very much for the honor of being here. Well, I would like to show you a little bit. There will be some slides, and I would like to show you a little bit about what I developed and what's going on, talk a little bit about conservation in Brazil, and maybe we can learn something from it. Basically, well, this is okay, but this is important. This is Brazil, as you know, and I'm going to put my finger there so it's going to be easier for you. This is the Pantanal, where I am. The Amazon is there, in the north. Okay? Very good. So, basically, I wanted to show you that I have a project that is being developed in the Pantanal. What is the Pantanal? The Pantanal is the largest inland wetland of the world. It's an area of 150,000 square kilometers. Just to remind you, Brazil is more or less 567 times the size of East Timor. So the Pantanal, I mean, you could put several, 10 East Timors inside the Pantanal. Basically, this is the size of the whole thing. But what have I been developing there? So my story is like this. My family works with pulp and paper. We have very large enterprises of pulp and paper in Brazil. But besides that, my family had a very large ranch in the Pantanal. The Pantanal is a place where people have been ranching for cattle, for meat, for many, many years, for 300 years. And so my family bought an area that was huge in 1950, and we stayed with it until 1982, when we decided to divide it amongst ourselves. The point was that since I was 10 years of age, I've been visiting the place, spending my vacations there, and for me, the Pantanal was one of the most beautiful places in the world. The beauty, the smells, the birds, the biodiversity, everything there. And I was always a little bit worried because the adults never spoke about this. They only talk about productivity, about the cattle and everything. But I always had in my mind that there was much more to develop than just cattle ranching. So when I had the luck of having the huge ranch divided amongst my family, I got one part of it. It was kind of a lottery. This is the ranch. It has 53,000 hectares, which is 530 square kilometers. And I had an idea. Now I'm going to develop this place with a strategy that is based on 3 pillars. One would be conservation through rewilding projects, rewild the place. The other one would be wildlife observation tourism. And the third one, I would continue with cattle ranching. So all these projects would collaborate among themselves. And I would start something new. At that time, the Pantanal was completely unknown by Brazilians and by foreigners. But I wanted to develop, I was the pioneer in bringing tourism to this part of Brazil. Next one, please. So, what did I do? I created a lodge, and I started to invite biologists, veterinarians as young guides. They came to my place, started working, translating nature to my guests. I learned everything in Africa. So I did not invent anything. I just went to Africa and tried to adapt what the experience in Africa to Brazil. And so I started this project at that time. Next one. So as I explained to you, my project was based on these 3 pillars. Livestock, the hotel, and this is something else. This is an institute that we have just created, my wife and I, and we are going to explain, I'm going to explain to you. But basically, we follow the 4 C's. This is a way of understanding how to better develop a project. This is from an organization called the Long Run. I am part of that organization. It's an African-based organization. And basically, what you have is you have 4 C's: commerce, conservation, community, and culture, all speaking together. And this brings the community into the project. This brings, you keep the culture of the people, and you rewild the place, and you have something that is amazing because it's all through collaboration. This is how I grew. Next one. So what is this? Basically, what I did as I started with, no ways of understanding how am I going to promote this place, how am I going to bring tourists to this place. So what I did was the following. I started looking at the region and said, I'm going to invite scientists that are researching animals that are endangered in the region. And I'm going to invite them inside my place. I'm going to offer them a physical base, and I'm going to propose to them that they develop their studies inside my place, 𝐂𝐢𝐭𝐢𝐳, and they share it with the people that will come and visit us. And because of their credibility, I will attract more guests to my place. So everybody will benefit. It's going to be a win-win situation. The guests will benefit, the scientists will benefit, the animals that are being studied will benefit, conservation will benefit. And so I started attracting all these projects, and this one is very important. This is the hyacinth macaw, an animal that was in the brink of extinction. And because I brought this project in, this lady, the scientist, she did a fantastic job. And all over the Pantanal, not only in my place, but my place became the base of this project. When she arrived in my place only in my place, there were 49 individuals. This is 28 years ago. And now we have around 600 individuals. So the Pantanal, all these animals have grown also in the Pantanal, and it's fantastic. And then, finally, all the projects that I have inside the ranch, the giant anteater, hyacinth macaw, the parrot, tapir, the deer, and the jaguar. And this is a project that really changed everything at my place. How? The Pantanal has always been the home of the jaguars, you know? And what happened was that you couldn't see them because they were very shy. So there was a friend of mine that went to Africa, and he learned about the project of habituating leopards to vehicles. And because of that idea, he brought that idea to Brazil, and he proposed to me. He said, Roberto, I would like to develop this project inside your place, inside 𝐂𝐢𝐭𝐢𝐳, and see how it works. Well, we're talking about 15 years ago, and nowadays almost 95% of the people that comes to my place will see a jaguar. And this changed completely the way that I'm known, that people talk about, not me, about my place, and people that wants to go there. So we are receiving more and more and more guests. So we focused on this collaboration amongst all these projects and all the project in itself. And it's working very well. Next one. So, but, you know, only 𝐂𝐢𝐭𝐢𝐳 as a place that looks like a Noah's Ark. This is my idea. You know, you cannot, I don't have the time to change everything, but at least I will, you know, focus on my project and try to leave a Noah's Ark to Brazil and to society. But then you cannot just, you know, be there alone. So we started working with neighbors. So this is my ranch. And so we started talking to the neighbors and said, look guys, why don't we come together, like-minded people that would accept the idea of adapting their businesses to the Pantanal and not the Pantanal to their businesses, which means that they don't need to destroy the Pantanal. They can develop the Pantanal in a sustainable way. You continue to have your cattle, or you have a lodge, or whatever, but you follow rules. And we created an institution that now has around 400,000 almost of like-minded people with no government involvement. Absolutely, this is all private. Private people coming together, developing an institution, and working together in order to ensure that this place can be protected. Next one. Now, this is the future. This is 𝐂𝐢𝐭𝐢𝐳, the ranch. And this, my wife and I decided that we are going to separate 1/3 of this ranch and create, we already created an institution. We are going to donate this to this institution. And this is our legacy. This cannot be transformed anymore. This will be left for the future, for society. Not even my children cannot touch this anymore. So this is our idea of promoting biological corridors that will link several of those properties that I just mentioned to you. Próximo, next one. Now, what is the point here, and what are the threats that I'm facing and you will face too? Basically, climate change. So what's happening in Brazil now, what's happening in the Pantanal is that we are being severely affected by climate change. And this means that we are having constant wildfires, huge fires every year. Every year the destruction comes, and it's very hard to fight fires like that. So again, now together with all these neighbors, also together with the government, we are trying to at least adapt our operations there and trying to develop resilience. You know, adaptation, I say, during these times of climate change is the way, but resilience is the destiny. If we are not resilient, we will not, I wouldn't say survive. Humanity will always survive and it will always adapt. But the thing is that we are losing the beauty of this world. We are losing the biodiversity of this world because, and let me tell you, just to finalize, one story, just one story. 35 years ago, my wife and I, we went on a cruise ship to a place in the southern Caribbean. And we went there, And then we went, left the boat, took a smaller boat, and went to a reef. And we went snorkeling. And the place was just amazing. The most beautiful place at that time that I have ever seen. Full of life, full of corals, beautiful. 10 years ago, by chance, I came back to that place with my wife, with a group of Brazilians, younger than we, like 20-something years younger than we were. And we went to the same place by chance. And then when I arrived there, I said, well, I'm going to go snorkeling. And when I jumped into the water, the place was a disaster, complete disaster. Coral was bleached, destruction everywhere. Nothing remained from what I had seen. Only one head of coral to my left there, just a head of coral where the fishes were there around like crazy, you know, amazing place. Nothing left. And I came out of the water completely depressed. And my wife was there, she didn't go into the water, and I said, look, this is a disaster. And she said, well, this is not what the younger people said. I said, what did they say? They said that it was marvelous. So what are we seeing here? This is that question of shifting baselines, you know. People are losing the knowledge, the ability to understand what the environment was, what existed before. People are getting used to less. Each generation is getting used to less. And so this is what we have to fight against, you know. So this is part of my life, and I think that you here in Timor, I think you have great opportunities to maybe to invest in this idea of transforming this place into a biodiversity paradise, especially the marine areas, which I think that you might have and that are very important. We can talk about that later, but I think that this is a great opportunity for you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Roberto. We now move to our second part of the program. First, we'll show a short clip about their fields, and then the speakers will come and speak about their life. Our next segment brings voices from across the globe. These three individuals who are embody courage, legacy, and discipline in their unique fields. I'll now show the video of Mr. 𝐂𝐢𝐭𝐢𝐳𝐶, and then I will invite you to speak for a couple of minutes.
Years of Adler Ships 1950, 2025. A family-owned company with a history of success, founded by Kurt Paulson, and today a diversified group under the leadership of Sven Paulson. Adler Schiffe, the leading brand for maritime tourism in northern Germany. With a fleet of up to 60 excursion vessels, event ships, and ferries, the Adler Group operates in Hamburg and the most popular coastal tourist destinations across northern Germany. From harbor cruises to island hopping and exclusive event experiences, Adler Schiffe takes people out on the water and creates unforgettable moments. But Adler is more than just ships. The group also operates bus services, tourism properties, and gastronomy ventures, offering a full-spectrum tourism experience. The company is headquartered on the island of Sylt, Germany's most famous and upscale holiday destination. From here, we manage one of the country's largest maritime tourism groups. During the high season, up to 200 employees are on board, working on water, on land, and behind the scenes to ensure everything runs smoothly. Adler Schiffe, real northern German tourism expertise. Authentic, direct, unforgettable. Adler Schiffe has stood for tradition, quality, and innovation for decades. Today, the company is committed to sustainability, expanding its fleet with modern electric ships. With Adler Nature, guests can enjoy special excursions from Wismar and in Hamburg. Adler Schiffe is also one of the largest providers of sea burials along the North and Baltic Sea coasts. On land, the company carries around 2.5 million passengers every year through its public bus services, with nearly half of the fleet already electric. Adlerschiff is also active in gastronomy. Under the well-known 𝐂𝐢𝐭𝐢𝐳𝐞𝐧 brand, the group operates more than 20 locations, making it one of Germany's most popular seafood restaurant chains. Adlerschiff develops and operates tourism-focused real estate projects, creating new spaces for leisure, holidays, and relaxation. And the vision goes further. With the expansion of the electric ship fleet, testing of autonomous bus services, and the future of the Sea project, Adlerschiff continues to drive innovation. Adlerschiff, moving towards a sustainable future.
Mr. Svensson, please.
Ladies and gentlemen, Your Excellency, Mr. President, honorable ministers, distinguished guests, it is both an honor and a privilege to speak before you today on this special occasion. My name is Sven Pausen, and I'm manager and owner of the German Adler Group. Germany is known for its economic strength, but the true strength of our economy is not a large multinational corporation, it's the Mittelstand. So I did not found a translation for Mittelstand, but what it is, it's a small and medium-sized enterprise that have quietly and successfully driven innovation, employment, and sustainable growth for decades. These companies are often family-owned, deeply rooted in their local communities and guided by long-term visions rather than short-term profits. They are world leaders in niche markets known as hidden champions, and they play a vital role in employee development and technical excellence. What makes the German Mittelstand so remarkable is not just what it produced, but how it produced. With responsibility, with quality, and with a commitment to partnership and trust. In this spirit of innovation and of resilience and of collaboration that we believe can inspire and support economic development far beyond our own borders. Today we are proud to present to you the short video, you have seen it already, that gives an insight into our unique model. We hope it can serve as a spark for dialogue, for cooperation, and probably for shared progress between Germany and Timor-Leste. Thank you.
Thank you, Svensson. We now will show a short clip of the next speakers.
Island supplier for over 150 years. Around 300 employees connect the mainland with the East Frisian Islands. The company stands for mobility on the water. The fleet counts 8 passenger ferries that depart 10 times a day. 2 cargo ships ensure the islands are well supplied. 5 high-speed ferries complete the service. Mobility on land. Rent an e-bike, take the bus, or travel with their own vehicle. The guests have still the opinion. Mobility in the air. Flying high with the island planes. Modern drone technology is also being advanced in many areas of application. Digital solutions for modern travel. Annually, more than 1.2 million passengers travel from Noorddijk to Noorderney and Juist. The entire range is bookable online and offers smart solutions for arrival and departure. Sustainability for a climate-friendly future. Electric mobility is the central focus. The first fully electric seagoing vessel under the German flag is powered by solar energy. Generated at the largest charging park in northern Germany. Steadfast through tradition. Connecting since generations. Powered by innovation.
I'm pleased to invite...
Without emissions and nearly silent. The Frisia E1 is the first seaworthy, fully electric ferry under the German flag. Compared with a diesel ship, the 𝐂𝐤𝐭𝐢𝐳 saves about 1,400 tons of CO2 per year and is twice as fast. 16 knots is the maximum speed allowed on the Wadden Sea. The two air-conditioned ship hulls have only 1.2 meters draft and accommodate 180 battery systems, which provide a capacity of 1,800 kilowatt hours. A 20,000-volt cable transfers solar energy from the company's own PV charging park and from the municipal utility to the floating charging pontoon. There the power is transformed to 690 volts, converted to direct current, and then transmitted up to 1,800 kilowatts via two MCS plugs. 600 carport roofs with solar panel supplies, 242 𝐂𝐤𝐭𝐢𝐳 charging points, and the 𝐂𝐤𝐭𝐢𝐻 with the green energy. A Hanesan 800 kW storage system enables the company to become more autonomous. The future is electrifying.
I am pleased to invite Carl, please.
Dear Mr. President, dear Excellencies, thank you very much for having the chance here to say a few words to you. You saw the film. Mr. Paulsen, who just spoke before me, we are not competitors, we are working in the same field, but he said already quite a lot, so for me it's not so easy to sort of give it a better way. So yes, I'm the fourth generation in our company, and by accident my grandfather was a pharmacist and did buy the first shares. And so since 140 years now, and a little bit more, the company is serving for the islands. And in the beginning, what for us it's very important, it's of course we have to earn money, but at the end of the day, it is really for us, the main mission is 365 days a year to work for the islands, which we connect with the mainland. So we are a very important link for the islanders, but also for the tourists, and that's our main target. Obviously, the guys who spoke before me, sustainability is a very important issue for us. We are operating our fleet in the World Heritage in northern Germany, so we think it's our job to look at this sustainability. It's not always easy because we are in competition. And the question is, very often, is the sustainability affordable? So when the competitors are not doing it, will the guests take our vessels, which are maybe a little bit more expensive? But yes, most of the visitors are choosing us. So I think it's the right way to make the future greener. And that's mainly it. So I'm looking forward later to your questions. Thank you very much.
No mic? Okay. I have to say that Mr. Svensson used to be an Olympian boxer, so please don't upset him. Thank you. I now would like to bring to the stage Sir David Happelman Adams. If you Google, he is the most fascinating individual, but I let him. You have about 10 to 15 minutes, so we have some extra few minutes. Please, Sir Adams.
Mr. President, fellow guests, thank you very much for inviting me today. I deliberately didn't send the video because then I thought I wouldn't have to speak, so they've caught me out. As you've seen, we have some guests here who are at the top of their game in the world, you know, entrepreneurs, people in conservation, so they are absolutely incredible, and I'm very privileged to be their friend. As you can see, I'm 20 years younger than them, so they normally get me along just to carry their bags. But my life, I was in industry. I made my money in manufacturing. My great-grandfather was an industrial chemist. My grandfather, my father, my brother were all industrial chemists. I did business studies, and I don't know anything about industrial chemistry. But I joined the company, and that's how I lived throughout my life. Another part of my life was adventure. So I used to go away for slowly longer and longer times to get away to these remote places. And the third pillar in my life is charity. So I'm a member of several young people's charities like the Duke of Edinburgh's Award, Outward Bound, St. John International, who help young people. So that's the three pillars of my life. But if I could address the young people sitting at the back, I had a vision. As Frederick Paulson said, it's always very good to have a vision, and I loved this adventure. The first time I went away as a young boy in my school, we had a PE teacher who took the whole class at that time of just boys, and there was 30 boys, and he took us down to this mountain. It was a big mountain, but now it's actually a small hill. But we went away, and it was the first time I'd ever went away from home. And they put us in this big tent, and I remember at this very early age seeing sheep and stars and mist, and I just had a love for this, and I knew I want to do this as much as I could. And as I grew up, I had a lot of teachers who taught me climbing, and I loved getting away and seeing remote parts of the world. So I gradually grew with experience, traveling to the different places in the world, the Alps and North and South America. And then I thought, right, I would like to do this. And I got to a certain age, and in 1998, I fulfilled that dream of becoming the first person to achieve the Explorer's Grand Slam. And the Explorer's Grand Slam is climbing the highest mountain on each of the 7 continents and getting to the North and South geographical poles and magnetic poles. So just a very quick geography lesson. The highest mountain in North America is Mount McKinley. The highest mountain in South America is 𝐂𝐢𝐭𝐢𝐳𝐞𝐧. There's a very nice mountain called Elbrus, Mount Elbrus, which is in the Caucasus in Russia. You will all know this. This is the highest mountain in Africa is 𝐂𝐢𝐭𝐢𝐳𝐞𝐧. A very cold mountain in Antarctica, the highest mountain in Antarctica is Mount Vincent. This is a very interesting one for all you know. The highest mountain on the Australian plate is Carstensz Pyramid, which is in Irian. And as you all know, the highest mountain in the world is Mount Everest. And as I said, the other part of this great jigsaw puzzle is the North and South geographical poles. The Earth rotates on its axis. You have the North you have the North Pole in the north. And if you don't remember anything else, the North is an ocean, and it freezes, and then it melts a lot in the summer. But that's where you get polar bears in the north. Antarctica is a big, massive continent. And there's, at the South Pole itself is about 8,000 feet. But around the coast, there's this wonderful wildlife and penguins. So if nothing else today, you get penguins in the south and polar bears in the north. So I did, over 20 years, I did all these different things, all the different mountains. I was at work and go away and do a mountain, go to work, come back and do a mountain. And the last part of this jigsaw puzzle for me was the geographical North Pole. And then by the time I'd started this dream, there were 1 or 2 other people trying to do the same thing, trying to beat me. There was a man from Russia, there was a man from Singapore, and there was a man from America. So in the end, we were all competing to do the first Adventurers Grand Slam. And the first time I went to the North Pole was in 1984, before a lot of you were born, and I failed miserably. And again, what I do on every single expedition, I take a little blue book and I put all the things that I can improve on in the back. And so on this particular trip to the North Pole, I had about 80 different things that I would improve on. The food, the skis, the different tent, the different sleeping bag, the different communications, all the things that I can improve on. And I always believe you always have to improve on everything that you do, just slightly, I've often said there's no such thing as a silver bullet. You mostly succeed by these little slithers of differences that will make you succeed. So I failed miserably on this North Pole trip, the first time I went, and it was demoralizing, and I just thought, what am I doing? Do I really need to do this? And it was expensive. So eventually, as I said, I did all those different things, the Everest, the South Pole, and all the others. But the last thing for me to do was the North Pole. And I had such a bitter experience on my first attempt, I thought, really, do I want to do this? And I often say to young people, there is no such thing as failure. And you will have failure in your life. You will fail your driving test, or you will fail to go down to the shop in time. There will be times when you will fail. But the important thing to remember, I say, is there's no such thing as failure if you know in your heart you can do it, and you go in and try and achieve it. It doesn't matter if you fail, long as you try. I often hear all my life, I wish I was younger, I had more money, I wish I had more time. Long as you actually try, that's the important thing. So I actually went back to the North Pole with a friend from Norway, and this was in 1997. And off we went. There was two of us, one from Norway, one from England, and we were very, very different. And I can talk all day about the differences of the cultures, but it was acting as a team to try and get to the North Pole. And I remember we left, it was dark, it was cold, it was -40, and -40 might feel hard to experience in these climates, but -40, you will get frostbite on your hands or on your extremities if you don't look after yourself and cover yourself up. The liquid on your eyeballs will freeze if you don't cover it up. Even if you have, say, a chocolate bar, and you take a bite out of the chocolate bar, in those temperatures, all the fillings will come out. So you have to be very careful all the time. You have to be absolutely so careful, or you're going to be in trouble. So off we go, and about 30 days in, this, as I said, this is a floating ocean. It has the same effect as the ocean outside of here. It's affected by the moon, it's affected by currents, and you can be sleeping and you can have drift. At the North Pole itself, you can get a submarine up there. So it's all a floating ocean. And on this one particular day, I remember, this one particular day, it was really hard. It was -40. We were pulling our sledges, which was about 100 kilos each sledge. And it was horrible weather, and we put the tent up. And my job was to do the navigation. I remember getting the GPS. You have to warm the GPS up. Put the batteries in your armpit, the other thing in your other armpit to warm it all up. And that night, that day, I checked, and we'd made 6 miles that whole day pulling these sledges in these temperatures, which was, for us, it was very good. So the next morning, we get up after a breakfast of dehydrated food, and again, my job was to check the navigation. So again, I put the batteries up my armpit and put the GPS up the other armpit, and I checked. And during the night, while we slept, we had drifted back 7 miles. And I just thought, my goodness, what are we going to do? And I just thought, there was nobody there with a gun saying, you've got to go and do this. We were there because we wanted to be there. So we went off the second time, went off the next day, and exactly the same thing happened. We drifted back further than we made any progress. And I thought, this is going to beat me again. This is the second time, and it's going to beat me again. So for 4 days, we drifted back further than we made any progress. And the point I'm making this story, you will find this in your education, in your life. You will have your head down, butting sometimes against your bosses, about your life, your family, and you just think, my goodness, I'm doing my best, and you float back. And I promise you that will happen in your life. But the point is, as I said before, there's no such thing as failure. As long as you know you can do it and try, you can't fail. So We failed the second year. And I thought, oh my goodness. So, had this little blue book. I had 50 things in the back. I had 80 before, 50 this time. Change the food, get better equipment, change the skis. There's little minute things with the binding, just little things, little small things that hopefully would make the difference. So the third time, this is 1998, third time I was trying to get this Explorers Grand Slam. So third time, I thought, I've got to give it another go. So we went, and it was cold again, and the same thing happened again. This time we floated back an incredible distance, but we just said, look, we've got to keep going. We've got to keep going until the tank was empty. And eventually, after 61 days, we got to the North Pole. And what made me know I was going to get to the North Pole was I've spent nearly 300 days of my life floating around in a tent in the Arctic regions. And this one particular, the day before we got to the North Pole, we had a tent up, and there was this little white bird came to us and landed, and we took this tent, this little bird, into the tent at the front, and it was exhausted, absolutely exhausted. So we gave it a little bit of water. We didn't give it any of our breakfast. We wanted that. And the next day, we let this bird, it flew off to the Caribbean probably. But I knew what goes round comes around. And I knew the following day we were going to get there, and we did. And okay, I got the T-shirt, which was very, very nice. But the point I'm trying to make is, there's no such thing as failure. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sir David. I would have to say that Sir David is also the first person to fly with a hot air balloon in an open basket across the Atlantic Ocean. So as you can imagine that, I'm not sure. So I was asking if you have any fear in your life. We are now moving into the third part of our session. This is going to be a dialogue with Mr. President and some of our guests. The theme of the conversation will be starting boldly, lesson from global trailblazers, because it's difficult to pronounce. Now I welcome again Professor Frederik Paulsen to the stage, Mr. Christopher Apostol, and Mr. Warren Amazon, and Mr. Clifton Foster. Please come to the stage, and I respectfully ask also Mr. President to be on the stage. Thank you.
I start, so very, very brief on my part. I wish to begin with a simple question. When you think back, so each of you, to the moment you started your journey, what gave you the confidence to take the first step?
It was a very strange experience for me because when I took over the business, I knew exactly what I needed to do. I did not need any inspiration. It came absolutely natural. It was like it had been inside of me for a long time. It just came out by itself. So that's not very helpful.
Years ago, say in '98, I did a program at Harvard University. I had not been in school for years and decided to go to do a program at Harvard. One of the, there are many professors, one was Jeffrey Sachs, but there was a gentleman, I don't remember his name, was a banker from Manhattan. He was brought in, and by then I was already known. I had won the Nobel Peace Prize in '96, and so 98, people knew me at Harvard. And sat down with him for a beer, much older gentleman than me at the time. And I asked him success of his business. And he said, success of my business is very simple. I stay focused. That's it. Stay focused in whatever you do, whatever you elected to do. Yeah. So I move on to any advice based on your how you started, particularly way back when you started. How did you make the decision what to do? What, because we, many young entrepreneurs here in this room, we have some Timorese who have been very successful. Yesterday I already mentioned, I think, over dinner in Lahane about a program, environmental program called With One Seed. For me, it is one of the greatest programs anywhere in the world. Started discreetly, small, in Bahia. One seed, Bahia. There she is. That lady. I already decorated her. She's from Bahia. With an Australian gentleman, very humble man, Andrew Marr. And I call him, he is our EP honorary consul, because he wears always like EP with an earring, which diplomats usually don't wear. But he's the one who started this. And now 700,000 trees. Every tree identified, not bogus claim. Few years ago, so I'm the honorary chair of the group, so a few years ago, I signed the first carbon certificate sold in the carbon market. Returned more than $200,000. 80% went to the 4,000 members of the community. So it is not only tree planting, it's agroforestry, sustainable. That starts by some. So we would like to you to share with us some challenges, frustration, success. 2 minutes, 1 minute is enough.
Mr. President and esteemed audience, I would say that one of the most desirable aspect that one should have is a deep need for learning, a natural curiosity, a desire to understand the wonders of this world, with the opportunity, if you're blessed as such, to travel, to see new cultures, to experience new languages. That opportunity is a blessing for all of you to have and to aspire to. I've been fortunate myself to have those opportunities, and I would love to be able to share my experiences, especially with the students. They are the future of your glorious country. They are as your president says, and the ambassadors of your country. Know that going to different worlds and different cultures is essential for the expansion of knowledge and for the benefit for all the next generation. And one of the difficult parts is to be able to know how to take that opportunity and when it comes and will it come again. And so there's a Latin phrase called carpe diem, which means seize the day, and try your best to do that. Thank you.
I had prepared a video, but it turned out it was 2.5 hours long, so I wasn't allowed to bring it. But I would echo what Clifford said. I got to, when I was a young man, I got to a point where rather than know what I wanted to do, I knew there were a lot of things I did not want to do. And ended up getting involved in commercial real estate, but it was something that I absolutely enjoyed. I enjoyed thinking about it, I enjoyed collaborating about it, I loved going into the office and working with my colleagues, figuring out how to exploit the situations or opportunities that were given to us. I would submit to you as a young person, it's really hard to succeed unless you really enjoy what you're doing. You can be forced to feed your family and do the best you can do, but to really take it to the next level, it has to be something that you really enjoy. So I would wish for all of you the opportunity to find something that you can focus on, let it consume you, and you will succeed.
Hello, yes. The only thing I would add to this is the following. I always thought of myself as a rather strange animal. I was born in Brazil. I had a Russian and Ukrainian background with a very Russian-Ukrainian family name, and then I was shifted from continent to continent, different schools, and what I've always wanted to do is fit in and be like all my classmates, but it was a bit difficult with this mixed background. And what I'm trying to say is that in the end, suddenly I discovered that actually having all these backgrounds all these differences was actually a richness in itself, of course, and I made a career in finance in emerging markets, and I used the experience I had in Brazil first, gained in Brazil, used it when Eastern Europe, the Soviet Union collapsed, and when that opened up, and eventually became a partner in a finance institution in Switzerland, and my career there for many years. So I think, if I could have any advice to all of you starting off in your life, is little by little, don't try to be and copy like someone else or copy someone else that you admire. Try and little by little find what you have in yourself that's different, your own advantages, and play on those. And as you said, try and find the things that you like to do and that really correspond to what you have to bring. And that will be the key to your success. Also, I think little by little, there'll be moments in your life when you have to earn money for your family, and there are moments in your life when you're going to be more successful, you can follow more of your passions as well. And one of mine has been the environment. So I'm very happy today, for instance, to be advisor to the Brazilian initiative of the TFFF, the Tropical Forest Finance Forever, which I'm also glad to say that I was just speaking to the president of the COP yesterday, who's very much a proponent of this, and he's going to be approaching Timor-Leste very soon to invite you to participate as well. We're discussing this with the ambassador now. So it's something that little by little, what's great is you'll find your roots, you find your way to be successful in life if you just play on your strength and on your passions.
Maybe 20 years ago, we couldn't even talk of any Timorese entrepreneur. And over the last few years, I have met gradually one after another. One that, so here in the presidency, a year or 2 years ago, we did the first Science Expo. And I met with a group, young Timorese, I think the company is called Smiley. They do technology. And They are the ones who design the software, they design the hardware, they build the hardware. Of course, for the hardware, they have to send it to China and they do it. And the interesting thing is that they told me that they participated in the first science expo in Indonesia, in Jakarta. And the Indonesian friends said, wow, in the past, the Timorese always come with coffee and ties. Now they are coming with technology. And this group, they're already selling their software to other countries, their hardware to other countries. And there are several others. Can be a humble young man from Atsabe. He went to work a few years in Australia, saved money. Now he exports coffee directly to his buyers in Australia, not going through middlemen. And he has some of the most beautiful cafes here in Delhi. But I could go on about that. But still, and our handcraft improving in quality. That thanks a lot to a young French woman who was here many years ago. She first came. I saw her, not very charming young lady, when she always worked in Esplanada Cafe. When I would go there often, there she was. She doesn't greet anyone. She was focused. She didn't have an office, so she focused on her laptop. A few months later, she contacted me, seeking my help to approach the French government to give her some. Then she married a Portuguese gentleman who is a great artist, designer. So they start designing the handcraft. I work with a group in Atauro, everywhere in Timor, to produce that design products that are now selling very well. And the business they run, the Timorese side, run it all. So see some of the success, little story. But follow-up question. I right away to several of them. What was the biggest risk you took early on? How you managed it? One difficult question. Have you ever failed? What did you learn from it? What advice would you give a young entrepreneur, more or less, starting with very little? How do you build trust in a team, especially across cultures or industries? What role does values or purpose play in your decision as leader?
I think there's a lot of questions, but they all lead down to the same thing. What makes you decide to become an entrepreneur and get into business? Business, in essence, is just an assessment of risks. So when you're going to have to decide whether you want to start your own business or not, you have to qualify the risk. For most people, it's more interesting not to take risks, to get a job in government or get an employment which doesn't involve risk. You yourself, you have to determine whether you're prepared to take this risk in whatever it entails, that you might make less money over a longer period of time, that you will have to work harder, that you will have to commit yourself all your time to the business you're starting up. And that is really the question you should ask yourself. Are you prepared to do that? In my experience, most people will not take that risk because it's too cumbersome. It's always much easier and much simpler to go the easy way, that is not to take any risks. So that is the basic question you yourself will have to ask you. Am I prepared to sacrifice, to take everything in place that is there in order to start my own business and develop it?
Can I follow up with you? Yes, the other day you mentioned, we talked about the Antarctica Treaty. I want you to talk about it here because I don't want me to launch it and then people call me crazy. So can you talk a bit about the Antarctica Treaty.
Yeah, as you know, Earth is split into various countries and nations, and these nations are run by governments, but there is one place on Earth where there is no government, which is quite extraordinary when you come to think about it, and that is a continent in itself called Antarctica. So Antarctica is not colonized. There are several claims. For instance, the Norwegians claim 20%, the Australians claim, but in reality, countries have decided that they put their claims on hold, and they have put together a governance through scientists. So there is something called the Scientific Committee for Antarctic Research, called SCAR, where any country could become a member and could have a say in an understanding of the ongoing research in Antarctica. And I think in terms of environmental questions, this is a unique opportunity for a small country like Timor-Leste to really punch over its weight. It could become on the equal level with countries like China and the US, because it would have a seat on the board and would learn what's going on in Antarctica, which will have consequences for the environmental changes, as Roberto talked about earlier, all over the world. So that's my small.
But one follow-up question. Imagine if everybody wants to sign the Antarctic Treaty.
Sorry?
What if every country signed up to the Antarctic Treaty? Wouldn't there be total anarchy, become like UN General Assembly?
Again, that's a very good question, because obviously some countries, in particular a very large country not far away from here, wants to have more power than others. And that's why it's so important that more countries get involved, because otherwise the large companies will dominate and take over the whole decision making.
Thank you. So I pass on to you. Same questions before for your.
The theme of this session is entrepreneurship. We all understand, and we're learning more about what that entails, but not, as Dr. Paulsen said, not everyone has that small seed in them to be an entrepreneur. I've never been an entrepreneur. I've done a number of small ventures and businesses, but I've always worked in other companies, and I've taken the effort to change my job and my career many times, and that is going into an unexplored area, because you're basically not in control of your environment as an entrepreneur strives to be. So you put yourself out there, and you're taking a lot of risk because you're joining an organization, a small company that could be that could fail. You could be with people that you find out that are not compatible with you after you work a while. But the risks that one takes to be able to change jobs multiple times, which is what I have. I've worked in real estate, I've worked in oil services, I've worked in finance, I've worked for the US government, in the White House offices, the special trade representatives, Department of Commerce, Department of Treasury, and I've worked overseas. I've worked in the Emirates, I've worked in Saudi Arabia, I've worked in the United States, and so those kind of efforts also entail a lot of risk for the individual, and so the motivations that you take to be able to do that is probably somewhat similar to taking the risk to be an entrepreneur in a different manner, but to be able to change your life and careers, to take those opportunities personally and to grow each time you take that work and work in a new environment and work in a new career path and work in a new with a new company. Those type of risks do have a lot of parallels to being an entrepreneur, and so I would view that, and the most illustrious group that is here is not all the individuals up in front. It's the students in the back there. Those are the ones that are the future. Those are the ones that can take the choice to work, build their own companies, strive, or to work with organizations that already exist and be able to adapt to those organizations to make them better, or to find out to take another path and work with another company. But my view is to constantly move forward, and constantly move forward and to think ahead and to improve oneself. And that's where the opportunities lie for the next generation of the Timor citizens. Thank you.
Yeah, I would echo that, particularly on the risk side. I think given different people in the same risk profile, some people would be very stimulated by it. That's the seed that Dr. Paulson was talking about. Okay. Other people would be intimidated and miserable by it. So that's the dividing line. David made the point that you can't, there's no such thing as failure, which is true emotionally, but economically, there is failure out there. There's no question about it. I know people in real estate who've made fortunes, and then people who have lost fortunes. The thing they all enjoyed, though, is they all tried, back to David's point. They all attempted to do the best they could with it. There's always a certain amount of luck involved, in, certainly in something like real estate development, where it takes a number of years to develop a building, and you have to hope the market is still the market that you assessed when you started, when you finished. But the big point is that some people, as I said, are stimulated by that. They'll make the most of it. Others would not. The thing that all of the youth of Timor have in common is that you're in a country with great opportunity. Everywhere you look, there are important things to be done. And you can figure out what your appropriate spot is, where your comfort level is, where your biggest contribution can be, and take advantage of that, because it's all right there.
Thank you.
So I'll just add one thing. I'm afraid I'm in the school, like my friend here, where I don't probably have that entrepreneurial gene to start off a business on my own. But so I joined institutions, fine institutions. I tried to always join the best ones I could, which I really would recommend you to do if you don't set up your own business. Always go for the top names. There's a reason why they have the best reputation. And they will allow you to set up, to create a business. And whatever you do, whether you're working for yourself, you set something up, or you join an institution, there's always scope to improve and to be an entrepreneur even within that organization. And in my case, you're talking about taking risks and starting something new. I remember when I was dealing with, I was in charge of emerging markets worldwide for the institution I was working for, and I was sitting there on the side. There were all these people that it was companies I was investing in, and they were asking, but can we bank with you for for our own money and so on. So little by little, I realized there was a huge business, probably much bigger, to be done on the wealth management side. So I insisted a lot and took the risk. In fact, I was very discouraged by the bank not to do it, but then we decided, okay, let's give it a try. And I left for a much bigger business within the organization to set something up just with one secretary, and eventually it became much, much bigger than the business I was dealing with before. And it was the second biggest business in the industry. That's what allowed me to become a partner. And I did that as well, taking a risk, being an entrepreneur within the company I was working for. And the last thing, I think you mentioned, how do you instill trust in your teams and what is the important thing? I think one of the things that I think has been the feedback I've got from the people that I hired, that I coached, is that I gave them a very strong set of values that I believed in, and that were very different, apparently, from the values they'd seen in other institutions they worked for. I'm a banker, as I mentioned, so we have a horrible reputation, awful people, but actually, if you are a trustworthy banker, and at the end of the day, if you entrust your money, for instance, to a banker, trust is one of the main things, you actually end up naturally winning over from the competition over time. And I think that's one of the main things that you will do, the values that you have in you, that you believe in, continue believing in them, instill them around you, and you will instill trust in all your people that will work with you and for you eventually, and they will follow you.
Finally, could you leave, what is your message to the next generation of leaders in Timor-Leste?
Well, I would like to try to sum up what we've been discussing here today. And if you're young and you want to look at possibilities for your future, I think it's very important that you get experiences outside of the place where you're today. The ideas, the inspiration, the suggestions for new ventures will come usually in contacts with people from other countries, that you yourself go to another country, you experience what's happening. So I would very, very strongly recommend that you would widen your horizons and try to get inspiration and impulses from the outside. Not just traveling, but also meeting people from the outside that come from different areas, that work in different businesses, that work in scientific fields which you don't understand yourself, but you could learn about. And that's very, very important that you open up your mind to new inspirations. And then in terms of starting up a business, I would also like to give one last advice, is that usually the competence that you have yourself needs to be complemented. There's very few people that have all the necessary competences that is needed to build up a business. Once you have identified your idea, you have to find people that you can work with, that can take over some of the issues, some of the problems, and try to help you solve them in parallel with yourself.
Thank you. Yes, I think you're absolutely right. I want to echo that and saying that even before, some of you, I see, are quite young and you won't necessarily be traveling on your own and getting those experiences immediately, but you should do them indeed as soon as you can. In the meantime, take any opportunities. Today we have, it's so easy to connect with the rest of the world through any clubs, through any opportunities. There are thousands of opportunities to connect online with the rest of the world. Do that. I think being part of this maybe small geographically but internationally well-known and admired nation that is East Timor, thanks to extraordinary people like your president, who is, I think, living proof that you can come from a small nation and be known, a household name throughout the world. I think being an East Timorese is actually an advantage. It's going to open many doors to you actually around the world, and so don't be shy, and go out there, whether it's online or one day in person, and you will help make this nation a fantastic example for many others.
I'd like to add a few thoughts in closing, directed directly to the students. And there are educational programs, exchange programs. I understand there's a very robust program between Timor-Leste and Portugal. That is an excellent, in my reading, that's an excellent program. It'll take you halfway across the world. Not only you will learn a little more history about and the culture of Portugal, but you will be immersed in Europe and a multilingual, language environment, a multicultural environment there. So part of the direction that I recommend taking would be to take the opportunities for any student exchange programs that you can take. And within those, there are elements for learning being an entrepreneur, and certainly the curriculums that would be provided to you, not only in the standards of math and sciences, but in languages and cultures. So my thought would be for that to be an area for you to strive towards. Thank you.
My colleagues have all hit on some very valid points here. I would amplify them by saying that the idea of improving yourself on a daily basis, either through academics or surrounding yourself with people that stimulate you, is important. But I think the main thing is to be aware of the opportunities that are around you. Everybody in the room here knows that there's something that they encounter every day that could be improved upon. I would challenge you to act on those things. Everybody our age is always has stories about, I wish I had done so-and-so. You know, if I bought that piece of land back, 30 years ago, it'd be worth a lot of money now. Anything that you encounter in the course of the day that interests you, focus on it, develop the idea around it, see if you can, put together a solution to address that issue, and there'll be a future there. I think you've got great opportunity here in East Timor, and personally am glad to have been here and meet everybody.
Thank you. I hand over to Nelson Santos. What's the next program?
Yes, I'll ask Mr. President and the speakers to remain on the stage. Now we're going to the Q&A, so the floor is open. Please be precise, short, and identify yourself. I see some hands already up, so I'll go for that gentleman down there. Please identify yourself, and then this lady here, and then the gentleman there. I'll take 3 questions first, and the question could go to any panelist, please. Okay, so, and the floor is open, please.
Good morning, Excellency President of Timor-Leste and the speakers. My name is Basilio Ribeiro Carvalho Soares. I'm working now at the Microfinance Institution. I was a CFO for 5 years in that institution, and now I'm leading as a Chief of Treasury. I think these presentations are nice for us Timorese. I have 2 questions here. Thank you for sharing your experience. The first one is, of course, business has different profile, right? And like in Timor-Leste, I want to be honest, we have a kind of a capital limitation to run the business. My question is simple. When we are running the business, let's say I want to try to be an entrepreneur. Do we need the capital to run the business in the beginning, or we run the business first and then capital can come later in the form of maybe investment capitals, or someone wants to invest also? Second one, you talk about risk. Of course, business always has risk. Big risk will result in big return. Do we need to have the risk mitigation in place? Maybe you can share your experience, what kind of risk mitigation you have. Thank you.
My name is Vicente Malbosi.
Thank you for your question. With regard to what comes first, I just have to reflect upon what Dr. Paulson said. It's the stimulation of an idea, and the money will hopefully naturally flow. There are many ways of financing at the micro level. I believe you said you're with the microfinance, if I understood the question, your statement correctly. I don't know if you know about the Grameen financing from Bangladesh with Muhammad Yunus, but he's been very instrumental in developing individuals, particularly the women financing, microfinancing development in Central Asia there, in Southeast Asia, I should say. And that is an element that has helped many individuals to build their businesses on a micro, very small level, and bring together pools of funds that then uplifted the societies that microfinancing has helped. So that would be one thought, one suggestion there. I'll pass it on.
We move to the lady. Next question, please. Senhora 𝐂𝐢𝐭𝐢𝐭𝐢𝐳. Yes, please.
Thank you. My name is 𝐂𝐢𝐭𝐢𝐳𝐞𝐧 𝐉𝐨𝐮. I am a teacher in one of the rural area in Baguia, Bocao, Timor-Leste. But in my extra time, after teaching, I work with my community for agroforestry, as already mentioned by Mr. President, in program of With One Seed. I'm very happy to hear the experiences from Mr. Robert. Would you mind to explain in detail a little bit about the 4C in Panantal, Brazil? And the second one is, as a business, I'm not working on business, but just want to know, when we start with business or any other activities as one of agroforestry, when I work with, as you see, there is the difficulties we face or challenges. Would you mind to explain a little bit more about the difficulties we face, internal and external side? And if you have like Panantal in one of the rural area, I guess, and what is the difficulties there? Thank you.
Mr. Bert, please.
Thank you for the question. The 4 C's, actually, what they mean is that it's probably the way that we think that if you want to develop something that is sustainable and durable, you should address the 4 C's into this kind of operation that we have. Meaning that you have to involve community, you have to have opportunities for the community, you have to give jobs to the community. The community has to understand that this is very important, it's going to change their lives. In my case, when I started the hotel, the lodge, and all this project, I explained to the community that was living inside this place. And I explained to them and I said, look guys, for many years you have been working with cattle raising, but now this is going to change. We are going to work with service, hotels, and the reason that we are going to be working with this is that the biodiversity here is fantastic, and your jobs will depend on the condition of biodiversity. You have to change the way you see biodiversity. You have to understand that this is important for the whole operation. So you start to change the way you address biodiversity, because until then, people, they were indifferent or sometimes aggressive towards the animals and everything. So we needed to change the mentality. So working with community. Commerce, meaning that, how are we doing financially? Are we making a profit? Are we promoting the place correctly and everything? Then, culture. When I started my operation, most of my neighbors, and especially my family, they said that I was crazy, because they said, well, you're going to bring in people of different cultures to the Pantanal. They are going to destroy our culture. They are going to come here with different ideas. And I said, absolutely, I'm the contrary. I mean, these people will come here in order to find a new culture, in order to understand the way that we live here. So actually, what happened was that it was the opposite. We had more chance to show our culture, to show the way we dress, to show the way we work the horses, to show the way we speak and dance and our music. So this actually enhance the culture. And finally, conservation. I explained to you the idea of bringing these projects and increasing the amount of research, the amount of information, the amount of people moving around the ranch. Nowadays, we have living there around probably 160 people, more or less, amongst the people working for the lodge, the people working for the ranch. Before all this project, I had only 30 people working in the ranch. Now I have 160 people, ranch, lodge, conservation, and I have a lot of stakeholders that, meaning that for them it is very important that my project and their project, now it became our project, is successful.
Thank you. I think the second question is about how to start a business in rural areas, if I interpret it correctly. If we can move to the next one. I think the gentleman that is there, he raised his hand. Please identify yourself and yeah, be short and concise. We are running out of time. Please, thank you. And then we have Mr. Vicente. Thank you. Now we have the gentleman, then we have you. Yes.
Desculpa how Zaliante itu. How nudar docente or entrepreneurship. How nenaran Marcus Pinto Romeo. E how si sekolah instituto IOB. Ohina orona kona ba experiência sira hosi mesa dia tebes. E how durante hanori how pratica negócio fobais durante barak, inclui how ne andrasik, mos pratica, mas depois de ame hasor dificuldade, how hakara curso ba mesa para vele foto kanui me ame se wan hiri ta hasor dificuldade roma, saída ma kita se halo e estado se halo saída ma ba ita bocira wan hiri ita bocira durante halau negócio, ita bocira dificuldade ne ba ita bocira soro. Estado ia responsabilidade ka tulun ita bocira ka hosi ita bocira ne colega parceiro terceiro bela ajuda ita bocira no ajuda ne oinsa bele foto que experiência no ami para amos bele kare loron selo amos bele copia tu ne Brian.
Let me try to summarize. The gentleman is a lecturer at our Institute of Business, and his question is, he teaches business, he motivates some of the students to do business, and himself has been into business, but it has been not so successful. What he'd like to ask is how to succeed, and if during your business enterprise, if the government has stepped in to help, and how do you work with your peers in building your business? Thank you.
So the question is how the government can help. Is that the question?
If you fail, if the government stepped in to help your business, and how?
Well, I think it's a very simple answer. I think the government should stay out as much as possible. The more government gets involved, the more complicated it gets. The government can, of course, help with various types of financing, but if you start setting in rules and people have to start filling in 50 pages of forms to do a business venture, that's sort of defeating the whole purpose. It should be simple, it should be easy. The person who gets into, the entrepreneur starts the business, he should be able to concentrate fully on his business and not have government hanging over the shoulder looking at what he's doing. And on top of that, he should be allowed to make money. That is, of course, a central point. In many societies, they want entrepreneurs, but once they're successful, a large part of their earnings are taken away from them. So that's another way the government could help. Let them keep the money.
Thank you. So, Mr. Vicente, please. And this would be the second last question, I think.
My name is Vicente Mabosi. My background is a farmer. So we are very thankful for your insight, sharing your experience about opportunities and life challenge. I just pick up one of the old man Warren Buffett quote. Warren Buffett remarked at MIT. He said like this: the brain is a creative force. When it is unlocked, you can create anything. So what are your comments about on this statement? I will ask for the four speakers. The second question, I just pick up a remark from Shakespeare. He said, our doubts are traitors. and make us lose the good we might win by fearing to attempt. Is that one of characteristics that you had in your mind and in your soul to face all challenges? Thank you.
Yes. Please.
I'm not sure. I'm afraid I know the quotes myself, but I think definitely it's if I understand you bring it together. The one thing we do have indeed is the capacity in us to, as we said, always improve what we can improve. Every day we will see an opportunity to do something better. And indeed, the only limitation we have, the main limitation we have is ourselves, our spirit of initiative, our imagination, and our drive and our energy. And also the doubts we have in ourselves. If you think something is right, just do it and don't listen to what people say.
I would like to encourage students, youth, jovens hier, América, hallo perguntas, la belle hallo via inglês, belle hallo via tetum, depois o embaixador Nelson traduz. Por favor, colhi à vontade, América, belle mais basic janemos, belle.
See, I will give the opportunity to the students now. So I have the madam there and then the gentleman that is here, please.
My warmest good morning to His Excellency, Mr. President, fellow guests, and all my dearest participants. Good morning, everybody. So my name is Nuncio. I'm a student from UCT, or Universidade Católica Timorense. So my question is, given the fact that East Timor median age is 21st or 21, which means the majority population of this country is full of youth. And I have a conditional question. If you could turn back the time to your 20s, what things that you would like to change? Or it can be habits, any relevant skills, or any relevant activities in order to achieve successful.
Because of the sake of time, I will go to the second question now. So please.
Thank you.
Your Excellency, Mr. President, respected presenters and distinguished audience, a very good morning to you all. My name is Alista. I have, first of all, thank you for your insightful presentation. My question is, what are the most common challenges entrepreneurs face when aligning ecological goals with financial viability? Thank you.
Please.
Well, I'm going to answer the last part of the first question first. In terms of what things would you have changed? Personally, I would have, if I was going to change anything, I would have gotten more aggressive at an earlier age. To parrot Dr. Paulson's thing about being entrepreneurial and basically following your own instincts. And as to the second question, I think, let me see if I understand it. Was it how to build a business around ecological aims? Say again? Financially? Obviously, that's a very, very topical question. Robert spoke about integrating the whole ecological sensitivity into his operation. I don't know that I have a one-word answer for that, except for the fact that people are very sensitive to it, and a whole market has grown around that. It's very timely in Timor, for sure, and was probably one of the arenas in which there's greatest opportunity. How to do it exactly, I'd have to look at a business plan and react to that.
Well, yeah, I think you had a nice example here in the presentations by Mr. Stigman, where he has several ships And one of them is an electric ship, and people are actually paying more to take the electric ship because it's environmentally friendly.
To expand on your question, lady student, in terms of environmental and ecological businesses, and where money is, at least my experience, readily available, particularly from a country like Timor, where there's lots of organic and natural vegetation, which can be compounded into cosmetics and various types of healthcare products. That is a very large and growing market, and with that, financing is generally available with the impetus of a good business plan, and that would be my suggestion and advice.
I think we are running against the clock, but I don't want to miss this opportunity here, and I'd like to ask one question to Sir David and also to Professor. Both of you are adventurers, very successful in your business life, but adventurers as well. You are the first one to complete the Grand Slam, first one to cross the Bering Strait with a light aircraft. My question is, do you have any fear?
Your question is about fear.
No, you are very successful in your business, but also an adventurer doing first things, like crossing the Bering Sea.
Yeah.
So do you have any fear in your life?
I never had any fear, no. But, that's not a feeling I've ever experienced.
Well, as you can see, I'm very different. I have fear every day. I think the thing you have to do, it's certainly in adventure and sometimes in business, you can be put off by red tape and people saying don't do it, and you can lose your house and lose everything else. And that's real fear. And a lot of us have been there. But I think if you look at it as an overall, adventure is much easier than business. If you're climbing a mountain and you can be with people who don't talk your language and the tent falls down, you don't have to explain to them to put the tent back up because they've got to survive. And on a mountain, all you do is you keep climbing until you run out of mountain, until you get to the top. So it's much, much easier. But what I've done always in my life, you try and minimize those risks. And you would never, and there's some things I've turned down in my life and just thought, you know, that risk is too much. But you've just got to minimize it or you're going to die. And a lot of people die doing adventure as well. And a lot of people die in business in different ways. So I'm completely different. I have a lot of fear. And I can tell you, in England, we call it a knee. So if you're climbing and your knee is like a sewing machine like this because you're so scared, that's what you call real fear.
Sir David climbed Mount Everest twice. So anyway, we're climbing to a closing of this event because I believe professors still have an engagement with Malta, and we would not like to make you arrive late. So in closing, I would like to thank everyone for being here. I would also like to thank my colleagues who made this a very successful one, the President, my Chief of Staff, the Ambassador Vicky Chon and her team, Tony Blair Institute, our protocol, our logistics and IT, for all their help to make this possible. But before we disperse, we will we'll have a refreshment in the presidential garden, so everybody is invited, and especially for the students, it's a very good opportunity for you to mingle with this successful group of people, not only in their profession, which is in the business, but also their private, which is like adventure and all that. Thank you so much, and you are invited to the next session lecture series with the Prime Minister of Malaysia, Dato Ibrahim Anwar, next week on 24th of September. Thank you so much, and see you again soon. Excuse me, I would like to invite all the panelists to have an official photo with the President, please. Dr. Everett, you're part of the team, please. Yes. I ask our Governor of Central Bank, the Army Chief, and the Prosecutor General with the Minister of Education, please, just for a photo opportunity. Thank you. And the Vice Minister, my apology. Oh. Thank you so much, everyone, for your presence.